Welcome to another exciting educational video brought to you by Up Vision Concept Academy. So today we'll be looking at biology, and then we'll start this lesson with the general overview of what we'll be doing in biology in this series. So it's going to be a playlist, it's a series on biology, and we're looking at the what we'll be looking at in these lessons. The biology is covered by some sections. I have section A, where we talk about living things or living organism. So we'll dive into living organism. Here we'll look at things like the characteristics of living things. We'll see classification of living things, organization of life, cell structures and functions, cell properties. You see diffusion, osmosis, active transport under section A. And section B, we'll be looking at the organism structure and function. The organism structure, the structure and function. So under this section, we'll be seeing nutrition in animals and plants. We'll be seeing transport in plants and animals. We'll be seeing respiration, excretion, support and movement in plants and animals. We'll see coordination and control, the nervous and the endocrine systems. We'll see reproduction, asexual and sexual. We'll see growth. Section C, we'll look at the environment. Section C, we'll see the environment. Okay, so here we'll be looking at the components of the environment. What makes up the environment? Ecological factors. We'll see food chain and webs. We'll see energy flow in ecosystem, cycles in nature, like carbon cycle, hydrogen cycle, and water cycle. Under environment still, we'll see population studies, adaptation of organisms to their habitats, and we'll see balance in nature. So section D, we'll look at heredity and evolution. Heredity and evolution. Section D, heredity and evolution. Okay, interesting part. Here we will see genetics, that is heredity, genetics. We'll see variation and evolution. Then section E, the final section of this broad classification of biology for grade 11, we'll be looking at biology and industry. Biology and industry. Okay, so here we'll look at agricultural biology, biotechnology, we'll see biology in health and diseases, pathogens, immunity, first aid, and we'll be looking at pollution and conservation. So it's going to be an interesting series that is going to be in the playlist of videos. So please sit tight. Make sure you subscribe to Up Vision Concept Academy channel. You'll be seeing more exciting things coming up in the STEMs, sciences, math, physics, chemistry, biology. So please sit tight. If you don't subscribe so I can get the first, be the first to get the videos. And then also engage in our comment section. Let the community begin to grow. All right, so sit tight as we dive into the first topic, characteristics of living things. Okay, so we'll start off by looking at characteristics of living things, and we say that living things are organisms that possess certain features which distinguish them from non-living things. So when you see something that is living and something that's not living, there are certain key features that distinguish them, that make them to be different. So we'll dive into those things that makes a living thing different. That if you see these characteristics, all of these characteristics inside this living thing, you will know that this is a living thing. It's not just that the thing is lifeless. If something can be stagnant in a place, it doesn't qualify it to be non-living thing. What are the things that we see an attribute that we will see on something that is living to attribute it to be a living thing? Now the following acronym represents the characteristics of a living thing. I will call it Mr. NIGER D. It's an acronym. It's not the name of a person. It's not the name of a mister, but it's an acronym. that if you can remember Mr. NIGER D, you will be able to know all the attributes of a living thing. The first M here stands for movement. Movement. That means all living things move. That's what it means. All living things move. So movement is the ability of an organism to change its position or part of its body to respond to stimuli. Example of such movement is a cat that is running. A cat is running, or a plant is bending towards sunlight consistencies. So you will be surprised that a plant that does not move quickly is also adjourned to be moving. Why? Because after some time you see it changing in position, for example, bending towards sunlight. So note that movement in animals is usually more noticeable, like I said, than in plants. So movement in animals are usually more noticeable and involves the whole body. While plants, it is mostly restricted to the parts, like the shoots and the roots. Okay, so that's for movement. Second letter here, R, stands for respiration. Respiration. So we're trying to build the acronym Mr. NIGER D. So respiration. What is respiration? Respiration is a chemical process by which organisms break down food, mainly glucose, to release energy. Okay, so I'm sure before now or outside biology, you will just think it's just breathe in and breathe out. But even in that process of breathing and breathing out, what is actually happening there is that there's a chemical process which organisms, anyone at all, either a big one or small one, break down food, mainly glucose, to release energy. So we have what we call aerobic respiration. Let me just put it by this side. Aerobic respiration. Okay. So, and this is what we have. Generally, we say glucose. By the definition, we will say that glucose and oxygen, that is, they are breaking down food in oxygen presence. Glucose and oxygen will produce carbon dioxide. That's what is coming out. Carbon dioxide. And water. Of course, energy is released. And there's ATP. Okay, so the types of aerobic respiration. Okay, respiration has two types. You have aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So this aerobic respiration is with oxygen, and anaerobic is without oxygen. Okay, so what is the importance of respiration, for a living thing? The importance is that energy is released. This energy is released that is used for activities like movement, growth, and repair. So that is for the R. We'll be seeing most of all these things as we go on. I don't want to go into the breaking down of what glucose is, what ATP is, or what energy or carbon dioxide, or what anaerobic is. We're just trying to glance through the the characteristics of living things, looking at each of these letters here to define what they mean. So the N here stands for nutrition. Number 3. N here stands for nutrition. So all living things will taking food. Nutrition is defined by. So we'll go into nutrition, and nutrition is the process by which living things obtain and use food substances. So types of nutrition includes autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Okay, so let me take this off and break it down. I have autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition. Okay, so autotrophic nutrition has to do with organisms, living organisms like like green leaves or green plants, you understand, making their own food via photosynthesis. So that is autotrophic nutrition. And heterotrophic nutrition is like organisms, like animals that consume other organisms for food. So note the difference. This one make their own food via photosynthesis, let me just put it here. We'll look at all this, in passing, even as we progress. Photosynthesis, and this one is they eat other organisms and other plants for food. Okay, so the next characteristics, number 4, I, we have done with N, and I is irritability. Irritability. Okay, so irritability has to do with sensitivity. So all living things are irritable, they are sensitive. It's being defined as the ability to detect and respond to changes in the environment. So the word changes is stimuli. So it responds to stimuli, in the environment. An example of irritability is when you withdraw a hand from a hot object. For instance, you just put your hand inside the hot object. The first thing you just do is to withdraw it. You are responding. Sometimes it's actually reflex. You respond quickly. So a living thing will respond. If it's non-living thing, it will not respond to hot object or cold object. So withdrawal of the hand from the hot object, sunflower to turning towards the sun is an example of irritability. The next one, G, is growth. G, growth. So all living things, they grow. By definition, growth is a permanent increase in size and complexity due to cell division and enlargement. Again, growth is a permanent increase in size and complexity due to cell division and enlargement. Note, growth may be external, visible inside, weight or height, or external. Okay, so external, first of all, that is visible. You can see growth externally when your hand is growing, when your leg is growing. That's external. But internal can also look like increase in cell, number of cells, and so on. So that's growth. So in plants, growth continues throughout life. In animals, growth stops or slows down after maturity. So that's for growth. So after growth, G, you have E, excretion. So all living things go through excretion. And what is excretion? Excretion is the removal of metabolic waste products from the body. Examples, in human beings, you see urine is removed from the kidney. These are waste products removed from the kidney. Okay. And carbon dioxide is also removed from the lungs. You understand? So carbon dioxide is removed from the lungs. So these are the things that can be excreted, though. Carbon dioxide from the lungs. It's not only poo-poo. Okay. So in plants, oxygen too can be excreted from photosynthesis. Oxygen and water. For plants, you have oxygen and water. Oxygen and water. Okay. So number 7, after E, the arrow here stands for reproduction. Reproduction is very key for all living things. For reproduction, what it means is the ability of living organisms to produce offspring of their kinds. Yes, very important for living things. You have types of production: asexual reproduction, asexual reproduction, and you have bisexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, or sexual reproduction. So let me put sexual here. Sexual reproduction. Okay. All right. So asexual reproduction has to do with one parent, e.g., binary fission in bacteria. So they say which of the following represents asexual reproduction. Binary reproduction in bacteria. You understand? Binary fission in bacteria. Binary fission in bacteria is asexual reproduction. This asexual reproduction is when one cell just on its own split into two. You understand? So that's one that split into two. The two halves, they will also split into two. But as they split into two, they are producing a new half. A new feature. So if a cell like this, with all the nucleus and all the different things, if it splits into two, it will split into two and have the same cell that is having here and here, and everything here is complete. So these two that split are forming two new cells. It's not as if it's half, one is complete and no, it's splitting and forming two. You understand? And that two can also split and form two. That's how asexual reproduction happens. That is one cell or one parent going through what we call binary fusion. Example is in bacteria. Bacteria is a plant, or a series of a living thing. So as sexual reproduction is when two parents, that is two human beings, e.g. two human beings or flowering plant, go through reproduction. And finally, number eight is death. Number 8 is death. Death is the last characteristics of living thing. That's that D here, death. So for death, it's defined as the permanent end of all biological functions and life cycles in an organism. So note, all living things must eventually die, marking the end of their life. So that is the end. And for like JAMB, advanced classes, apart from this 8, we have a ninth one, a ninth characteristics. We call it homeostasis. Homeostasis. Homeostasis actually is the ability of an organism to maintain a stable internal environment. So example is regulation of body temperature and sugar level. So you can, make sure you understand this 8 or 9 characteristics of living thing. You can go through them. I'll put a question, maybe question and answer in the description to also help your studies. These questions and answers are from past questions in NECO, JAMB, and WAEC to stimulate your studying. And also, you can make some comments in the comment section. So even if you are doing exam, key exam tips, always define each characteristics clearly. When you are doing your exams, always define each characteristics clearly. Always use examples for both plants and animals. When you are answering a question, use example. It shows that you know what you are saying or what you are doing. Okay, so thirdly, exam tip, know the difference between similar terms like excretion and Egestion. There's excretion and Egestion. See the spelling on the board. This Egestion and this excretion. Know the difference between similar terms that have similar sound. Okay, so be prepared again to match characteristics with examples in objective questions. And finally, expect diagram, labeling, or short structured questions. That is in WAEC and NECO. So I hope this video has been informative for you. I'd like to thank you for viewing.